There ain't no grave can hold my body down. There ain't no grave can hold my body down.
There's an article that I recently found from the Pine Needle News, and it states that mobile quarterbacks are not more susceptible to injuries than pocket passers. Prior to the 2012 NFL season, the injury risks that a quarterback incurred when he took off and ran was not as lamented upon or dissected as it is nowadays. In 2012, Robert Griffin III took the league by storm with this tremendous dual threat ability that the league had not seen since the Michael Vick experience. RG3's tendency to try to get as much yardage as he could, running the football and rarely getting out of bounds, would cost him all the momentum that he had garnered in the earlier part of his career and establish a new stereotype that would follow him and every other dual threat quarterback that would come into the NFL. But RG3's story now serves as a cautionary tale for all mobile quarterbacks that have entered the league and are being looked at as potential draft prospects. The overemphasized and quite frankly over-exaggerated notion that mobile quarterbacks are more susceptible to injury than their more stationary counterparts, the classic pocket passer.
It's broke. It's broke. It's broke. It's broke. It's broke.
You know, this article is 100% correct. The media uses RG3 as an example for all mobile quarterbacks. And in my opinion, that's unfair because that's like using Trent Edwards as an example for all pocket passers. Since 2012, the only other quarterbacks that have been injured and missed significant time trying to use their athleticism is Carson Wentz when he tries to dive for this touchdown, and Jimmy Garoppolo when he tore his ACL last year against the Chiefs. And both of these guys aren't really considered dual threat quarterbacks to the media. What I do realize is that most of the time when these quarterbacks leave the pocket and get injured, it's usually when they try to protect themselves. And I'm not saying this statistically, but rather through observation. The media always says that, leaving the pocket is more dangerous and it puts your quarterbacks at risk. But the only way you can stay in the pocket and be a good pocket passer is if you had a good offensive line. If a pocket passer has a terrible offensive line and he's an average pocket passer, he will be no different than a mobile quarterback getting hit on every other play. What the media does not often talk about is a lot of these mobile quarterbacks are victims of poor offensive lines. Hence, that's why a lot of them have to leave the pocket. Look at Deshaun Watson, for instance. If he wasn't athletic, he would have been the next David Carr. I mean, the hits that he has taken throughout his career is unbelievable with a poor offensive line, and his athleticism has saved him from injury, and he has put his team in position to win. And you actually have certain coaches that want their quarterbacks to be creative with their athleticism, like Greg Roman. He said that he would rather have Lamar Jackson leave the pocket in dire straits than to just stand in the pocket waiting for trouble to happen. Now, the media always tells the viewer that an athletic quarterback has to play from the pocket, and a lot of dual threats try to take that advice. But if you looked at most of the major injuries that has happened to dual threats, you'll find out that most of their injuries either happened in the pocket or they're put in a bad circumstance. Let's look at all the major injuries that has happened to mobile quarterbacks in a nutshell.
Marcus Mariota.
In 2016, Marcus Mariota breaks his leg, and the injury was similar to Derek Carr, in which the injury happened in the same year. Now, when you look at this injury, you cannot blame it on Marcus Mariota's athleticism. I mean, this happened in the pocket. This could happen to any quarterback. And when you look at Mariota's other injuries, like his ACL sprains, etc., you will find out that most of his injuries happened in the pocket.
Cam Newton.
The only time that Cam Newton got hurt running the football was in 2014 when he fractured his rib on this hit. Now, this hit was in the preseason, and this injury only caused him to miss 1 week. This was also the same year he took the Panthers to the playoffs with a losing record of 7-8-1. And his only other injury that year was when he had a car accident and fractured his back.
To that star NFL player, Carolina Panthers quarterback Cam Newton, out of the hospital now after fracturing his back. An accident that flipped his truck. Newton lying on a stretcher. His spine fractured actually in 2 places, then rushed to the hospital. There is a lot of talk tonight whether he'll play soon again.
An injury that was supposed to take a month to heal, but Cam Newton came back in 2 weeks. You know, throughout Cam Newton's career, he has proven that he is a very resilient quarterback, especially a guy that is known as a bruiser and somebody that, sacrifices his body to make big plays. And every time the media talks about Cam Newton's injuries, they always talk about how Cam Newton's body has taken a toll on him because he has taken too much physical punishment as a runner. But the media never goes into full detail about Cam Newton's injuries. And if you do your research, you'll find out that most of Cam Newton's major injuries did not come from his athleticism. Like the ankle injury that kept him out for the rest of the season, that injury happened in the preseason when Cam Newton got sacked by one of the New England Patriots defenders. And one of Cam Newton's first shoulder injuries came from him trying to make a tackle after he throws an interception against the San Diego Chargers in 2016. And on this play, Cam Newton partially tears his rotator cuff, in which he had to continue to play through the rest of that particular season. And in 2018, Cam Newton gets hit by TJ Watt in the pocket. And after the sack, Cam Newton has never been the same throwing the football. Actually, that next week, I think they played the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken, and Cam Newton said that he couldn't throw the ball more than 30 yards down the field. Not only that, Cam Newton did not always get full support from the referees. It was like the NFL was trying to experiment with Cam Newton's toughness by making him an example.
RG3.
Whenever someone mentions RG3's injury, they say, oh, he hurt his knee against Nada, and basically his career was finished. But that's not how RG3 got ran out of Washington. One, the Redskins did not care about RG3's health under any circumstance, like in the game against Baltimore where RG3 hurt his knee. According to Dr. Andrews, he said that he never cleared Griffin to go back into the game because he never examined Griffin right away. And basically the reason was, since RG3 was exercising his leg on the sideline, and the doctor looked at the head coach, and the head coach looked at the doctor, and they both thought that he was fine, so they let him back into the game. Some fans forget that after RG3 hurt his leg on this play, he was not actually finished because he actually went back into the game. It was not until he hurt his leg even further and then Dr. Andrews eventually pulled him out. Now you can't blame the doctor for this because this was poor management by the head coach. It is his responsibility to make sure that his player is all right and safe. So the Redskins rested RG3 for a week. Then after RG3 returns, he beats 2 divisional opponents and then leads Washington to a divisional title and a playoff berth. And what makes it so bad is that the doctor said that RG3 was getting better, but he was still recovering, which is key, still recovering. And before the wild card game against Seattle, Dr. Andrews said that he was holding his breath, hoping that RG3 would not re-injure his knee. And basically, that is what happened. Against Seattle, RG3 tore his ACL and LCL trying to reach for the ball, which also makes me wonder, if the center gave RG3 a better snap, would RG3, complete the entire game? Which leads me to another point. A lot of people do not talk about this, and you never really hear this from the media, but RG3 had a terrible offensive line when it came to pass protection. It was actually worse than Andrew Luck's. But since RG3 was athletic, there were times where he would escape pressure and, the viewer would not really pay attention to how bad his offensive line was when it came to protecting their quarterback. And let's get into further detail. The only reason that RG3 had to escape the pocket and scramble on this play is because his running back Evan Royster did not pick up his block. There was a linebacker coming in free. RG3 sees it, he escapes, hence he gets injured. But if the running back does not miss his blocking assignment, then RG3 would have had more time in the pocket. He could have surveyed the field longer, find a receiver. RG3 was literally used as a crash test dummy in his time at Washington, and everything happened so fast. Even in the offseason, RG3 would appear on commercials about him returning for week 1. The Redskins organization did not care about RG3 healing gracefully, but rather quickly. Now, as a football fan, can you really blame RG3's injuries on his athleticism, or was he mismanaged poorly?
Alex Smith.
The biggest injury that Alex Smith had running the football was when he was for the 49ers. And this concussion cost him his starting job to Kaepernick. But Alex Smith's career was not finished because he had found new life in Kansas City for the next 5 years. When his time was up in Kansas City, he had a short stint with the Washington Redskins, in which he suffered one of the worst injuries that I had ever seen, which was in the pocket. And basically after this injury, Alex Smith's career was over. And you cannot blame this injury on his athleticism.
Other mobile quarterbacks hurt in the pocket.
I mean, Josh Allen's major injuries were in the pocket. Tyrod Taylor lost his starting job to Baker Mayfield after he got sacked in the pocket. I mean, the list goes on with these mobile quarterbacks getting injured in the pocket. But the question is, if a lot of mobile quarterbacks get injured in the pocket, how come the media still blames it on their athleticism? Well, that leads me to this article. And this article goes on to say that any injury to a quarterback with genuine running talent is treated as proof of his fragility, even if it occurs while he is performing the acceptable quarterbacking task of throwing in the pocket. And any injury to a pocket passing quarterback while he is in the pocket is ignored. Now, this is an article from the Sporting News, and that statement there is basically what I said earlier in this video. It just seems like even if a mobile quarterback is in the pocket and he gets injured, the media still blames it on their athleticism to like create this narrative and this stereotype. And I just showed you a lot of film of mobile quarterbacks getting injured in the pocket. And now this article uses research from injury coordinator John Veros. You can actually follow this guy on Twitter. He tracks injuries throughout the NFL, and he broke down the quarterback injuries into 4 categories. So first, we got injuries on design runs, and according to John Veros, quarterbacks can get injured on design runs every 236 plays. A scrambling quarterback can get injured every 91.7 plays, and a quarterback that is sacked can get injured every 92.5 plays. And according to John Veros, the worst play category as far as injury to a quarterback is the quarterback knockdown, the hit a quarterback takes after he throws the football. That player gets injured every 67.3 plays. And a great example of this is Lamar Jackson, this year, or last year rather. He ran the ball 176 times, and his most significant injury happened after he released the football. And this was the quarterback knockdown that John Veros was talking about. And you notice Lamar Jackson did not have a significant injury this year on designed runs. I mean, this right here is evidence showing you that a quarterback can be just as vulnerable in the pocket just as much as he is when he leaves the pocket. Which leads me to another article that I found in 2013 that talks about the durability between a pocket passer and a mobile quarterback. Now, it is a pretty lengthy article, so I will give you some of the cliff notes. It says that conventional wisdom says a runner is more likely to get hurt than a stay in the pocket statue. Are mobile quarterbacks like Kaepernick, Mike Vick, and RG3 more prone to getting injured than Manning, Brady, and Flacco? Anecdotes can't offer a clear answer, and theorizing about the risks of mobility can't take us very far either. The writer of this article asked a logical question. He says, are pocket passers really in more danger than we think? Because a pocket passer has to survey the field, and he has defenders coming at all angles in which he cannot see. Whereas a mobile quarterback can at least choose to some extent which hits that he can take. I mean, he has the option to slide, get out of bounds, or fight for extra yardage. So if you further read this article, you'll find out how the writer had to basically learn how to measure injury data by using online databases and old news reports. And through his research, he found out that there was no statistically significant difference in injury rates between mobile and conventional quarterbacks. And quarterbacks of both types tend to lose 11 to 14% of their starts due to injury. You know, I always hear this false narrative of how mobile quarterbacks have short careers. And I'm like, where's the facts? Now, if you're talking about, mobile quarterbacks missing games in the regular season, I mean, come on. There are a lot of quarterbacks that have missed, games in the regular season due to injury. But if you are talking about careers, I mean, there are a lot of mobile quarterbacks that have had long careers. Randall Cunningham had 16 years. Mike Vick played 13 years. Steve McNair played 13 years. McNabb played 13 years. Steve Young played for 15 years. Fran Tarkenton played 13 years. Russell Wilson is entering his 9th year, and Cam Newton is entering his 10th year. Then you got those who were blackballed for kneeling. The point of this video is not about mobile quarterbacks being better than pocket passers or vice versa. It's really about how the media teaches fans how to be biased to certain play styles from quarterbacks without any concrete evidence. It's not about pocket passer versus dual threat. It's about fragility versus durability. I mean, there are pocket passers that are injury prone, and there are pocket passers that are durable. They are dual threat quarterbacks that are injury prone, and you have dual threat quarterbacks that are durable. And it's also about how well the franchise takes care of their quarterbacks. If you're a pocket passer and your franchise does not care about you, you'll be Andrew Luck. If you're a mobile quarterback and your franchise does not care about you, you'll be RG3'd. It's that plain and simple.